Hello and welcome to the FinTech Finance Virtual Arena. Today we're going to be talking about how banks are going green. And there's no bank greener than BBVA. So joining me today in the digital studio, I have Ricardo Laiseca. Ricardo, how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Brilliant.
Hi.
Well, Ricardo, can you give us a bit of background to your role at BBVA, please?
Yes, I'm the head of the Global Sustainability Office. As you know, BBVA is a very committed bank in terms of sustainability. And we have defined sustainability as one of our 6 priorities. And the Global Sustainability Office is the internal unit to coordinate and to lead this transformation. We are working with the different segments, with different areas, with different countries, to meet our sustainability goals in terms of mobilization, direct impact, transformation of our balance sheet, and disclosure.
Absolutely brilliant. And at BBVA, we've heard a lot of good things. But before we get into the tangible, all the programs that you've been working on at BBVA, I'm interested, how can banks in general empower their customers to track or even start taking action against their carbon footprint?
Well, we support our clients in different ways. First of all, we're trying to create awareness. This is very important. I see that the sustainability is a global trend, but not everybody is aware. In particular, when we talk about individuals and families and small clients. And here I feel banks and large financial institutions have a very important role. Through digital tools, we can provide them with information about their carbon footprint, about how their expenses affect the carbon emissions landscape, and we are there to support this journey. In particular, at BBVA, we have developed a tool for SMEs, which is in production. And with this tool, any small business can understand how they consume energy and different providers on energy. And we are ready to provide them with advice. We are there to provide them with some specific financial services. And we are happy to do that. I feel that digitization and large institutional financial entities can play a very important role in this transition, in particular for small clients.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, speaking of those small clients, we've seen during the pandemic, a lot of retail investors get very interested in ESG funds or environmental, social, and governance funds. Now, I've heard that they might be the best way for a retail customer to actually take action against their carbon footprint. Is that correct?
Well, yes, you are right. I feel during the pandemic, there was a trend to invest in different instruments, away from traditional ones. People and small clients and individuals, they are looking for return, but also they are looking to feed their investment with their values. And this is something we are seeing everywhere. What we are doing here is to support in this journey, offering more and more new products. We are trying to innovate in this landscape, and we see a very important growth in this in the traditional asset management business. All of us, we are redesigning our internal processes to offer those services, and we are very optimistic on the future.
So do you think investing, or at least allowing retail investors and driving awareness, is going to increase customer engagement going forward when it comes to reducing people's carbon footprint?
I think so. I feel at the end we are talking about very sensible and important matters. And we feel that financial institutions can play a very important role here, because we have capillarity, we have technology, we have solutions for them. I feel the role of banking in the future will be very transformative. I see that in particular we can support any transition, and in particular this transition from a pandemic into a new world much more based on values, focus on the social aspects, and promoting environmental topics as well. So we feel that having a holistic dialogue with the clients, trying to support them in important things, in things which matter, is the best way to promote the engagement.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part of getting people aware of making just driving engagement and ultimately getting closer to those green goals. Now, speaking of that, how can banks, I know, and we are going to talk about that, how BBVA and fintechs developed new green products. But do you think this is going to ultimately improve your CSR strategy and make it more robust?
Yeah, because our plan, our strategy is nothing to do with high-level manifestos. This is not about that. And it is not about a pure regulatory compliance program. We believe that sustainability is something core for us, financial institution, and for society as a whole. We have defined sustainability as one of our 6 strategic priorities for the whole bank, for the businesses, for the support areas, for all the segments, for all the countries. And we are working on that. I feel this is another step forward in our CSR strategy. Now it's called sustainability, but we pretend to incorporate in this new concept all what we do regarding environmental, social, and also governance aspects. So we're working on that, and I feel that this will represent a new transformation on the financial system for the future.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. And obviously, as you said, since it's one of the biggest pillars of BBVA's strategy, I want to ask you more about the finance industry as a whole. Do you think that banking and finance actually has a social responsibility to being green? A lot of the times, because people just think it's to do with money and paper, it doesn't have much of a role. But I'm interested in your perspective. Do you think maybe banking and finance should take a larger role in helping the environment?
My personal view is that here we have the same responsibility as any other large corporation. I feel large institutions can act, and we are trying to offer our best for what we are, from our ethos. This is something we have very clear, and that's the reason we have incorporated sustainability as one of our strategic priorities. We can mobilize funds in order to fight against climate change and promote inclusive growth. We can also develop, as a financial institution, as a large player, develop capital markets and market incentives to promote sustainability. Here I'm talking about carbon markets. I'm talking about capital markets union in the EU, in order to create green markets for bonds and loans. We are also able to promote, as a financial institution, the decarbonization of our balance sheet. We can align our balance sheet to some specific goals according to the Paris Agreement ambition. We can do a lot of things, but from our ethos, from what we are, and I feel that finance and financing role is super, because we are in the whole economy, and we can support as a major player any transition and any demand from our clients here.
Okay, well, brilliant. Well, that's absolutely incredible to hear that you feel like finance has that role to play, that super role, as you were saying. Now, with that in mind, do you think that customer demand has caught up and is actually the biggest part in tackling this environmental issues? Has this come from your customers?
We are at a very early stage, to be honest. We are seeing that the early takers were the large corporations in those sectors with high carbon sensitive, like the oil and gas, coal, cement, steel, auto, and so on. So they were the first sectors focus on sustainability topics. Later on, we've seen small clients through the value chain of those sectors taking actions, demanding financial products related to sustainability. And finally, we have retail. And this is what we are seeing right now. Individuals, families, small businesses demanding new services. They want to adapt a new style of life to the new values, to the new concept regarding sustainability, and we are trying to support all the sectors through digital tools. Here is where digitization and all the investment we have done in the past can contribute a lot, because now we can reach in a very straightforward way to millions of clients through digital tools. We can offer any service. We can adapt our offering to their demands, and we are seeing a very good progress. But again, this is a step-by-step approach. This is a gradual approach coming from the large corporations, adapting their business models to a much more sustainable models, then the SMEs and medium-sized companies, and finally, and at a very early stage, families and individuals.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, tackling it in those steps. Now, with that in mind, you brought up coal and you brought up those large industries just at the end there. BBVA, for my research, has done a lot and is going to be doing a lot in reducing its exposure to coal-related activities. Could you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, we have adopted a new environmental and social framework very recently. Our ambition is to target zero exposure to coal clients by 2030 in developed countries and by 2040 globally. And the reason for that is that coal represents around 40% of the total carbon emissions in the world. I feel this is the first step for any credible sustainability strategy. If you are committed to a net zero future, this is maybe the first step to take, and this is what we have done. This is one of the steps we want to do during this year. We intend to also announce new goals for any other sectors, in particular those high sensitive sectors I mentioned before, like oil and gas, auto, cement, steel, transportation in general. So in the same way as we have announced the coal commitment recently, and this is embedded in our global sustainability plan, which is about not only limit our interest in those sectors, but also to help them to progress. We are also happy to fund them if they want to use their funds for renewable energy projects, sustainable energy projects, to support the transition. So we are not only defining how do we the transition for those sectors, but also we are very supportive. We pretend to help them in the transitions clearly.
That's absolutely incredible. I mean, you really do hear that coal is at the heart of this, and hearing those numbers is absolutely incredible. So thank you very much for your work on that. Now, I don't think we can have this discussion without talking about the impact that coronavirus has had. Do you think that COVID-19 is ultimately going to have a negative or maybe even a positive impact on working towards a green future?
Well, I feel, my personal opinion is that I feel that the pandemic and the virus is reinforcing the strategy. It's putting social values and society at the center of any business. I think that clearly this is something some institutions were working before. We were working on those topics for a long time. I remember in 2004 working on the Equator principle for project finance. So there were some institutions who were at the beginning of this movement. But at the end, what I see is that after the pandemic, it's clear for everyone, any actor, any relevant actor, any sector, small and large clients, that society should be at the center. And this is what we are doing. And what is important to say as well is that we don't believe that there is a better way to reshape Europe and to reshape the economy, but through a green transformation. I feel this is something we have clearly. It's good in terms of putting values at the center, but it's also important because the relevant impact of those investments, the green investments, on employment and wealth around the world. So this is our view.
That's absolutely brilliant. And with that in mind, BBVA is a worldwide organization. I'm interested, you brought up your social and environmental framework. Is that going to be rolled out across your global enterprises? And is that really going to be at the core of every part of BBVA?
Yes. As you mentioned, we have interest in different countries. We have operations in different countries and regions. Something we learned very early from sustainability, from this green transformation, is that this is coming very fast. This is accelerating, to be honest. So we should be one step forward always, and this is what we're trying to do. And the second lesson is that this is not just a topic of Europe, of the core countries or developed countries. This is a global trend. This will affect developed and non-developed countries at the same time. So we have defined a global plan to meet some global goals in the whole organization. Here we are talking about mobilization. We are talking about transformation of our balance sheet, the alignment of our balance sheet to a less carbon portfolio. We are also defining common goals in terms of direct impact. You know that financial industry, we are, to be honest, you know that we are not the problem here, but we can be part of the solution. Financial system, for example, in Europe represent less than 2% of the total emissions. So, but as you know, our scope 3, our balance sheet, our credit activity, and our lending business can contribute a lot to align activities and the economy in general. So we are also defining some common goals here. And finally, we are defining also some common goals regarding transparency and disclosure, because sustainability is not just about good goals, but it's important to communicate, to disclosure them, in order to other players to learn and to incorporate this information in their investment decision. This is also important in order to create this environment for new investment, for new green investment. And this is what we are doing. Common goals on mobilization, direct impact, transformation of the balance sheet, and transparency and disclosure.
That's absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ricardo. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I hope you've enjoyed yourself too.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you very much. And to all our viewers as well, you can catch the rest of the series and much more at www.fintechf.com, and of course YouTube and LinkedIn, where I'll see you then. So thank you very much and goodbye.